Hello, everybody. We are back with another Top 5 exclusive here on the MacGuffin Podcast. I am Allen.
And I am Brandi.
And today, on our Top 5, we will be counting down our top 5 films based on true stories.
Yes.
So,
which, you know, it's a genre that you could say is pretty broad, but I think
it seems like every other film is based on a true story, right?
But I think these are the ones where, you know, it really based on a true story.
Okay. Sounds good.
So, my number 5 is a very, very recent film, and that is The Social Network, which I thought was absolutely a fantastic movie. And I'm sure that, you know, the validity of some of the stuff that happens in it has been probably rightfully questioned, but it is definitely based on a true story.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and I thought it was one of the best movies I've seen in a really long time, and it, you know, I gave it a really good review, and basically when it was over, I was like, I wish I felt like this at the end of every movie that I watched, because that was just fun to watch. And I just, yeah, I know you didn't like it so much.
No, I wrote a piece on this that you should check out on MacGuffinPodcast.com. You know, just the main character, regardless of whether or not it's based on the actual guy or not, he was just so unlikable. I mean, he was so willing to pretty much step over anyone to get what he wanted.
It's a story about assholes, for sure.
It really is. And at the same time, it's like, oh, I'm getting the signal to change. But anyway, this needs to be longer than 15 minutes. Anyway.
It's okay. You already said it. We've all said what we have to say about this particular film at the website. So don't worry, Alan.
All right. My number 5 film is from a director that I'm actually surprised that I'm only now starting to get into. It is Werner Herzog. And the film is FitzCorrado from 1982.
I've not seen it.
This is a film about a rubber baron played by the crazy Klaus Kinski, who has this crazy idea about building an opera in the middle of the jungle. Right? So, but to do that, he has to get his boat to the other side of a mountain. So, to do that, he hires pretty much a bunch of native people and has them pull this 350-ton ship over the mountain.
So you can turn it into an opera house?
It's complicated. But anyway, in the true story, the guy pretty much broke the ship apart into 4 main pieces and lugged it over the mountain. Herzog, the crazy dude as he is, decides to do it all in one piece. And this isn't, we're not talking like special effects or like computer generated imagery or anything like that. He literally has like hundreds of people lug this huge thing over a mountain. And I'm just sitting there watching the movie like, how the crap
I'm definitely gonna
is
have
this
to see this one
happening? Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible movie.
I don't think I realized that was based on a true story, but now I'm more interested in
Yeah, definitely worth checking out.
All right. Well, my number 4 is a film from 1990 from director Penny Marshall, and that is Awakenings.
Oh, great movie.
Yeah, and this is just like, this is the movie I watch if I want to just cry, you know?
Yes.
Like, honestly, I mean, it was nominated for, you know, Best Picture, Best Screenplay. Robert De Niro was nominated, based on the true story of a doctor who, in the 60s, his name was Oliver Sacks, came up with a way to treat patients who had been essentially catatonic for a long time, years and years at a time, and get them to snap out of it. But this was always very short-lived.
Yeah, it's an incredible movie. I mean, I think this is probably Robin Williams' best performance. Yeah. Robert De Niro, when they talk about like great Robert De Niro performances, I think a lot of people pass this film up. I mean, he is absolutely amazing in this
really
film.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's a great story. So
yeah, you know, playing this character who wakes up and thinks that he's like 13.
Yeah,
and he's definitely not 13 anymore.
Oh boy, let's not talk about it too much because I'm starting to tear up right now. I'm afraid to close my eyes. Okay, let's not. Yeah, let's move on.
What's your number 4?
My number 4 is not in the same vein as Awakenings, but it's just as good, I think. It's from Ron Howard, and it's from 1995, starring Tom Hanks. It is Apollo 13.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
This is, I mean, it's about that ill-fated Apollo trip to the moon. It's just, the thing about this film that I was so enraptured about is like how these guys are able to fix all these problems with what they had in that ship. I mean, they had to use their intellect, and a lot of the technical jargon that they're talking about, I didn't really quite keep up with, but you knew something was wrong and it had to be fixed. An incredible.
Yeah, you don't need to keep up with that stuff to really enjoy it. There's so many great actors.
Incredible cast, and just to think that at any moment they could just float off into space is just actually pretty terrifying. So I mean, an incredible story.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah.
My number 3 is from 2009 from director Jane Campion, and it is Bright Star, which is based on the true story of the poet John Keats and his love, Fanny Braun, played by Ben Whishaw and Abby Cornish in the film. Just a really good love story. Spoiler, Keats died of tuberculosis at a young age, and it is very heartbreaking to watch the film knowing that that's going to happen. And Jane Campion is just a really interesting director visually. I wish she did films more often. She really, she doesn't do that many films, but beautiful to look at, beautiful performances, really great script that just gets you right into the middle of things and doesn't have any. It lets you figure out the relationships between the characters just from the way they speak to each other with basically no exposition whatsoever. And it's just a very precise and impeccable sort of film that I would highly recommend if you didn't catch it last year. I thought it should have gotten a lot more Oscar nominations than it did. I think it just got costume and maybe a cinema. I don't know. I think maybe just costumes.
All right. I mean, I haven't seen this one, but I'll definitely put it on my radar for ones to see.
Do. It is a great film.
All right. For my number 3 film, I tried to stay away from biopics for this list, but I think I had to put this one because the character here is just so interesting, and it's from Spike Lee. It is Malcolm X, 1992. Malcolm X has always been somewhat of a very fascinating person to me. I mean, just his entire life. I've read a few, biographies about him. How he transitioned from this life of crime as a youngster to being part of the Nation of Islam, and then having his experience in Africa. It's just incredible, his story arc. And for this film, I think, Spike Lee had to tell it from the beginning all the way to the end to, really get the dynamics of this man. The end of the film is a little heavy-handed with the whole I am Malcolm X sort of thing. But, I mean, overall, I think the journey of that film is incredible.
It's a really interesting biopic. Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. My number 2 is, probably one of the more fictionalized picks on here, but it is based definitely on a very real culture that happens, and that is Friday Night Lights from Peter Berg, the director. I think that this is just the amount of heart that is shown in these, both this film and the TV show that is based on it. I can't even handle it, seriously.
Wow, really? That intense, huh?
Yeah, I mean, there are scenes in this film that just, I cannot. It's amazing how much you feel for the characters. Derek Luke plays a character that gets injured, and there's a scene where he just realizes that his entire life plan has slipped away with one injury, and it is so heartbreaking to watch. And even if that character is only sort of based off of a character that really was injured in the not a character, a person that was really injured in the book that was made, it's that this sort of thing happens to real people all the time.
Are you gonna kill me for me saying that I haven't seen this film?
No, I'm not gonna kill you. I just think that you should watch it. It's a great sports movie, and it's just a great movie.
Okay, all right. Moving on to my number 2. My number 2 is directed by David Fincher, and it is Zodiac from 2007.
Well, that was gonna be my number 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
I mean, this film is so interesting how, we all know the story of the Zodiac Killer and how he was never caught. But Fincher is able to tell it within this story of this guy played by Jake Gyllenhaal. It's so it makes you just want to keep watching it, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
with the clues and the way they try to like find out, you know, who this person is and everything like that, it totally makes, you know, what am I saying? It's about like obsession and how obsession tears apart your entire life. I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal's, you know, his whole family life just falls apart, and you know, Mark Ruffalo, his family is being torn apart because of his obsession to catch this guy. It's incredibly shot, incredibly well acted.
It's gorgeous to look at.
And
Yeah,
it's an amazing movie.
yeah,
so
it really is.
really deserves more praise, I think, than what
I
it
know
has.
this is one of those ones. I think it's getting there. I think
Yeah.
I hear it mentioned a lot. It's like a great film, and especially since David Fincher has been pretty high profile in the last couple years. I hear it mentioned as his sort of like masterpiece that didn't maybe get the recognition it should have the year it came out. But it really is absolutely amazing.
Incredible
And
movie, yeah.
you know, it's long, but you don't notice because
Nope.
you're so completely absorbed
Yeah.
in the story of what's going on and these men, and that ending scene is friggin' great.
Yeah,
too.
it is. Great
So
ending.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't seen it, sit
Buy
down
it.
and watch it. Yeah, just buy it because
Yep.
you're gonna want to watch it a bunch of times.
Absolutely.
So,
So.
anyway, that was my number one. So what's your number one?
My number one, I decided to choose a uplifting, heartfelt, fun movie, and it's called Schindler's List. From 1993, directed by Steven Spielberg. I mean, you know, Steven Spielberg is like this really schmaltzy kind of a director. I think, you know, he's not subtle when it comes to the sentiment, you know. But with this film, you know, I don't think he was trying to make it to win awards or anything like that. It was a film that came straight from his heart.
Oh,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? And those are the best kind of movies. Incredible story about this guy who kind of like falls into this hero role without even realizing it. You know, he wanted to do it for money, but then, you know, the personable side came out. You know, and just an incredible story. The ending with the colors, you know, the color scenes and everything like that. You know, you can love it or hate it. I think it works for the film.
Yeah.
Great movie. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say anything bad about Schindler's List.
Yeah.
I mean,
So. Anyway,
so.
that does it for our top 5 films based on a true story. If you have any films that you would like to share, please hit us up on MacGuffinPodcast.com, and we will catch you guys next time.
Next time.
Later.